So
Right.
is Harold is in New Jersey. He told me he's going to try, but he's with his kids there. Okay, so we're on Kuf Yud Aleph, Masechta Shabbos 1:11. So we brought up the problem that it said that if you could drink this liquid to treat your jaundice, even though it might sterilize you. The problem is, how can we be allowed to do that? We're not allowed to sterilize ourselves. So then we said, okay, maybe the case where you're allowed to do it is someone who's already been sterilized. But then but that doesn't work either, because says the Gemara, Kol moedim b'mechamit tzarcha mechamit shulchayu. By a mincha that's in the Mikdash, and these menachos were supposed to be made matzah, not chametz. You're not supposed to allow them to get chametz there. Now, if you violated that and they became chametz, and then you added more, you created more chimutz in that mincha, you're chayiv for the lav of lo safeh chametz. So there is chimutz achar chimutz. So, and similarly, says the Gemara, castrating after someone's been castrated, there's also a law. What's this? So these were examples in animals. Let's say the farmer had a bull and he wanted to castrate it. So they didn't necessarily remove the testicle. They went into the scrotum and they cut the blood vessels that went to this testicle, but they left the testicle in place. That's called karut. So im al karut chayiv al natuk lo kol shekeh. I mean, natuk means you take the whole testicle out, even after someone cut it. That means someone cut the blood vessels but left the testicles in place. So if someone did that, you're already chayiv for sirus. Then if somebody went back and removed the testicle, you're chayiv again, because yesh sirus achar sirus. El lahabi notek achar koishu chayiv. So now we're back to the question: how did the Gemara permit drinking this medicinal thing that treated jaundice? If it's going to make you sterile, there's a lot to sterilize yourself. Ela bezake. So we're talking about an old person who has stopped being sexually active. And Rashi just says, Shaposak Mileida. And I, based from my learning through Shas, Zikna usually refers to the inability to have an erection. It's like impotence. Because there's other sources where we see that that's what we're talking about.
Is that a nice way of saying it, calling it Zikna?
It's not just a matter of, it's not just a nice way. That's the definition. When it says Zikna, and when Rashi says Shaposak Mileida, because from a fertility standpoint, an 80-year-old man can fertilize a young woman. Not every 80-year-old man, but they may have live sperm, and there's no reason. So, and of course they didn't even understand. They didn't have microscopes. They didn't understand the concept of that the zera was. So Zikna usually refers to getting older and you're not sexually active anymore. Primarily because age leads to atherosclerosis, poor circulation. Eventually you can't get an erection. And as you're going to see very soon, I think the Gemara supports what I'm saying. So first of all, the Gemara now is saying that who can drink this medicinal thing that makes you sterile? A zoking, because he already has lost, there's no sirus by him, because he doesn't have the potential. Sirus is only if somebody has the potential to be fertile and you make him unfertile through cutting something away. Here, the person is not fertile anymore. So there's no issue of sirus. Fragt die Gemara, warum Rav Yochanan, hein echzeruni lan narusi. Rav Yochanan in another Gemara in Gittin talked about various medicinal things he took that made him function sexually. Like Rashi says, I was able to be sexually active. Alma zaken moli. So the answer that we were looking for cannot be, because the zaken can come back and be able to be moli. Then you're going to have a problem with sirus. Eliyesh Loma. So the Gemara says, Ela Isha. So the Gemara's Havamina is, it's a woman with jaundice. A woman does not have the mitzvah of pru'ervu. Rashi said, Eina mitzvah b'pru'ervia, because it says pru'ervu umiluas ha'aretz v'chivshua in Yevamos. Ish darko lichbosh, ve'ein darko shalisha lichbosh. It connects it to the ability to conquer. A man conquers, a woman doesn't conquer. So therefore, the mitzvah pru'ervu was on a man, is not on the woman. And therefore, there's no problem with being Mesares. However, Rav Yochanan broke it down. According to Rav Yochanan Broka, he's a das yachid. He says women are mitzuva in priya v'revia. So then we're back to the same issue. What about sirus? So bizakena. So it's an old woman who, again, is not capable of tashmish and not capable of being molid. She's postmenopausal. And here it doesn't sound like there's medicine that could return a female to functional status. So that's why the Gemara doesn't say, what about hein nachzurul narusi? No, it remains with the teretz of zakena, and then it's not a problem if they drink that medicinal fluid. Or inami ba'akara. And akara, like Sarah, she's infertile. She's unable to have children through some kind of medical problem, which is different than zakena. Zakena means she's so old that she doesn't engage in sexual activity to even have a chance at later. Akara is something more fundamental in her system that prevents her from. She can have tashmish, but she's an akara like our imahos were, like Sarah and Rivka, and they needed tefillah to them to normal status. And the Shulchan Aruch says, "Ein chayovin al akrus liisha." There's no sirus, but according to the Rambam, there is. And by the way, the Gra also has a sort of a das yachid who holds that women are in the parsha of sirus. Weiter, Mishnah. Hachoyshesh b'shinav, somebody has a toothache. Lo yigama b'enes achoymetz. You shouldn't gargle with vinegar. Aval metabalu kedarko, but you can dip your food in vinegar and eat your food, and then it's not apparent that you're doing it for medicinal purposes. V'nisrape. If it got better, it gets better, but you didn't do it in a medicinal way. If you have pain in your hip, you shouldn't anoint your leg with wine and vinegar, because those were medicinal things. But they could anoint themselves with oil, as long as it wasn't rose oil, the lo shemen veret, because that's very, very expensive. And if you're going to use that, it's clear that you're using it for medicinal reasons. He says, "B'nei mlochim sochin shemen veret al makosei," and princes would use rose oil on their wounds. Shekein darken lasoch b'chol. They would do that during the weekday as well, and therefore the b'nei mlochim could do it on Shabbos because it was considered a normal thing that they did. It was not considered unusual. Therefore, Rab Shimon Omer kol Yisrael b'nei melachim ein. All Jews are princes, so therefore they could use the shemen veret on Shabbos as well, because technically they should be able to use it during Chol as well. So Ramile Ravacha Aricha, Ravacha the long, showed a stira to Ravacha bar Papa. Ravacha Aricha is Ravacha bar Papa, and he showed the stira to Ravavo. It's not. It says in the Mishnah, Choishish B'Shina, somebody has a toothache, lo yigam ben asachoymetz. You shouldn't gargle with vinegar. L'meimer dechoymetz malali shinayim seems to suggest that vinegar is good for teeth. I b'haksiv kachoymetz lashinayim v'ka'ashon la'inayim. Vinegar is to teeth like smoke is to the eyes. It means vinegar is not good for teeth. So we have a stira in Tanaitic literature from our Mishnah to the statement of this Amoira. Loikasha, habikiu de free. It depends on what they made the vinegar out of. So if it was from yayin, it was not from ripe grapes, that's bad for your teeth. Habachala, but the other is regular vinegar. Which is, comes from fully formed wine. We're talking both cases of vinegar. It depends. If you have a wound in your mouth, if you have a makkah, the vinegar will help. But lekamasa marfi. But if there's no makkah, it does not help. It makes it looser. Then the Mishnah said, "Lo yigama ben asachoymetz." You shouldn't gargle with vinegar. Batanya lo yigama upole. You shouldn't gargle and spit out. Abba megama uboleya. But you can swallow it, because spitting it out is clearly evidence that you're doing it for medicine. So Amar Abai Kitna Nami Masisin Megameo Poilet Tanan. Our Mishnah, which prohibited it, is talking about somebody who gargled and spit it out. But Rav Amar Filu Tema Megameo Voleya. No, our Mishnah that prohibits it by gargling is even if you swallowed it. It just depends where in your meal you are. Kan lifnei tibul. That means everybody dipped their foods in vinegar. So if you were sitting before your meal and you swallowed it, it would be permitted. Because there, it's not clear that you did it for medicinal purposes. Maybe you're doing it for part of your meal. Now, if you did it after your meal, when everyone is finished dipping and you still dipped and swallowed, then lachar tibul, that would be us. So of course, it's v'nema b'dilifnei tibul shori lachar tibul nami shori. Why don't we say that no, just like before dipping, before the meal it was permitted, therefore after also. And where do we see this? The shaminin l'Rava is lehoil. Rava has a concept of hoil. What's this concept? The Amar Rava. There's no example of something that is permitted on Shabbos and Asr and Yom Kippur. We're talking about going to the mikveh. So over there in the sugya there, it says people could go to the mikveh to be matayar themselves on Shabbos. Because it looks like a person is just taking a bath, not necessarily to be matakin himself. The problem is on Yom Kippur, where you can't rochetz for for pleasure. So they wanted to aser, but he says no. This is the hoil, since it's permitted for Shabbos. So the Gemara wants to say the same concept of hoil here, just like before it's permitted, after the meal Shabbos will be permitted. However, Rava went away from that limud. And what do we see that he went away from that? Because Dilma, maybe he went back from the other shita. All tefillos you could do bein b'tisha b'av ben b'yom kippurim. So you see, Rava fit his drasha to this concept of hoil. So Rava went back on when he said kan lifnei tibul kan lachar tibul. He used the concept of hoil, and he said since it's permitted before, it's permitted after. Period. Then we said, if you had hip pain, you couldn't anoint yourself with wine or vinegar, but you could use oil. Halachic Rab Shimon, who said that all Klal Yisrael are princes, and therefore they can also use the rose oil on Shabbos. The name Rav Rab Shimon Svirale? What? Are you telling me that Rav because we just said Rab Abba Bar Zavda Omar Rav. Well, how can you say Rav holds like Rav Shimon? Om Rav Simi Bar Chiyam Mishmei de Rav, Hai Misuchrayed and Azisa. This is like a stopper that you would stick into a barrel, a hole in a barrel to stop it from leaking. Aser la duka b'yom tov. You can't stick it in there on yontif because we're concerned that you're going to squeeze schita. You're going to squeeze something out of that thing because it fits very tightly. Now, we know Reb Shimon holds of the dover shein miskaven. It's permitted. So here, you don't want to squeeze something out of this stopper. Your intent is to plug up the barrel. So according to Reb Shimon, it should be permitted. So the Gemara says, it's not a kasha that Rav says over there that it's usher, because Bahi, I feel Reb Shimon moide. We know that Reb Shimon admits, even by Dover Shem Miskavin, remember we said that if you cut a chicken's head off because you want its blood for fertilizer, and I didn't want to kill the animal, I just wanted the blood. It happens 100% of the time that you cut his head off, it's going to kill it. That's called a psik ratio. You can't say Dover Shem Miskavin. So even Reb Shimon will admit that you're usher there. Here as well, there's no way to stick this cork into the hole in the barrel without squeezing something out. So even Reb Shimon will prohibit. And says the Gemara, Rav Chia bar Ashi, Rav Halachic Rabbi Yehuda. And Rav Chanan bar Ami Amish Malach Rav Shimon. And Rav Chia bar Avi Masi Lo Below Gavri didn't say who the halach is like. But comes out Rav Amar Lach Rav Yehuda Shmuel Amar Lach Rav Shimon. How can you tell me in the statement you made that Rav is going like our Mishnah? Our Mishnah is clearly like Rav Shimon, and we see evidence that Rav doesn't hold like Rav Shimon. He holds like Rav Yehuda. Amar Rav Ani Varisha B'Chabura Targimna. Me and the lion in the Chavrusa will explain the problem. Who is the lion? Uman Rav Chia bar Avin. That halacha Rav Shimon v'lav mitameh. That means what Rav said is the halacha is like Rav Shimon, that Jews could use the rose oil, but v'lav mitameh, but not for the reason he gave. Now, what does that mean? My halacha Rav Shimon v'lav mitameh. Ilay halacha Rav Shimon deshori. That he agrees that it's permitted, but v'lav mitameh, but not according to the reason he gave. The ilu Rav Shimon sover maseh. Rav Shimon held that it does have the ability to heal the rose oil. And Rav Savar Lo Masi. And Rav holds it doesn't have the ability to heal. And that's why Rav agrees that it's permitted, because it's not medicinal, it doesn't have the healing properties. Freit Gemara, is that true? The Savar Rav Lo Masi? That it doesn't heal Vabeditani. The name Lachim Sachla Gavi Makusei and Shemin Vered, and Rav certainly doesn't argue with our Mishnah, which said that the princes use it to cure their wounds. Mechlal Demasi, obviously it does heal. So the statement Halach Rav Shimon v'lav mitamei must mean something else. Ela Halach Rav Shimon the shor, yes, Halach Rav Shimon that's permitted to use it on Shabbos, but v'lav mitamei, but not according to his reason, because the ilu Rav Shimon sover. So if something is not shchiach, it's not prevalent that people use it, well, it must be that's because people use it for medicinal purposes. So Rav Shimon agrees that it's not shchiach, but still shori. But Rav will say no. If something was prevalent, then because it's clear that people would use it for other reasons, not medicinal. And the ilor shchiach was not prevalent. You would not be able to do it because it's clear that it's medicinal. And the reason why Rav permitted, because Basa Rav shchiach mishcha devaida, rose oil was very prevalent. So just because somebody used it wasn't clear evidence that you were using for medicinal purposes, and that's why Rav permitted it. So, but not for the same reason that Shimon permitted. New Perek Chamisha Asar, 15, Perek 15. We're on Kuf Yud Aleph Amid Beis, the new Perek, Elu Kshari. You're not allowed to tie knots and untie knots on Shabbos. Because in the listing of Avos Malachos in Perek Lagadol, it says Hakoisher v'Amatir. And we're talking about a Kesher Shel Kayama She'ein Matir La'olam. We're talking about tying a knot that you would never untie. It remains tied. We'll see examples of that. So, Be'elu Koshim Shchayav Aleim, Kesher Hagamolim, right? They would tie the nose ring to the nose of the camel, and that was a permanent knot. The Kesher Saponim, the sailor's knot, we'll see that they would tie, they would tie the prow of the boat, would have a knot there, and that would never be untied. Just like you're chayv on making the knot, you're chayv on doing the knot. And remember, the hunters of the chilazon, the murex snail, they would sometimes have to undo their nets to make them bigger or to make them narrower. So remember, they needed the chilazon for the tchelas, for the ink that they secreted like an octopus, right? Secretes like a black ink to try to confuse its predators. So this murex does the same thing, and that's how they made tchelas. They have this ink. If you can undo a knot with one hand, then you're not chayiv. Even if you tied it and you thought you were tying it for la kayama. Let's say you didn't tighten it, so you would not be chayiv for such a knot. So the Gemara wants to know, my kesher hagamoli the kesher hasaponim. What is this camel's knot and the sailor's knot? Ile mekitra dekatri bizmama. That it's a nose ring, that you have a knot that ties to the nose ring so you can schlep the camel. Mekitra dekatri istradida. And the knot that was tied by the ring of the boat, these knots were occasionally, Gemara is now, for example, when you tie up a boat to a dock, so you tie it and then you untie it, says the Gemara. And the same thing with the camel. Sometimes you have a rope that's tied to the camel's ring, sometimes you untie that. So how can you say you're chayiv for those ksharim? Ella, kitra dizmama gufe. We're talking about that there was a knot that tied the ring to the camel's nose. That was never undone. Then, of course, a second rope was tied to that ring. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the knot that tied the ring to the camel's nose. That was left permanent. And the same thing, Isre Gufa, the same thing, there was like a ring on the boat that was also tied to the boat, and that was never undone. And then Reb Meir said, if you can undo a knot with hand, it wouldn't be chai. Reb Meir called kesher. So boy ravach boach bodemarach aniva, an aniva, like you tie your tie. The Reb Meir mahu. What's the din of an aniva? Do we say you can undo your tie with one hand? So maybe Rav Meir would permit. The reason maybe Rav Meir allows it over there because the person didn't tighten it. But when you make your tie, you tighten it. So maybe that would be a problem. Teku. So it's a suffix. Mishnah. Now there's some ksharim that you wouldn't be chayav a chatas, but we'll see whether is it potra v'loser or is it potra v'loser. We'll see which ones are which. Kosher's isha miftach chaluka. I guess her blouse.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rashi says, like the galachim have. They have like a thread that goes through and through their blouse, and they tie it up that way. So they open it up every day when they take their blouse off. So it's not considered a kesher shel kayama. Chute svacha. This was like her hair net. Also, they would undo it periodically. Vishal psakya. This is like a wide belt that was also tied.
A girdle.
Uritzus min of the sandal. The straps of the shoes are a sandal. The nodos yain v'shemen, or jugs of wine or oil that I guess there was like a drawstring. Ukederes shel basar. They would like a dish of meat. They would tie a garment over it. All of these we would not be chayav achatis. But Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer koishul lefnei behema b'shvil shelo teitzei. Let's say you have an animal and you have a doorway and you tie a rope across the doorway to prevent the animal from leaving. You're allowed to do that. So the Gemara Bichlal doesn't understand the structure of this Mishnah. You started out by saying there are some knots that you're not chayiv, like you're chayiv when you use a camel knot or a boat knot. And then you proceeded to tell me all the things I'm permitted to do. Which implied chiyuv u'deleka. There's no chiyuv chatas. But there's a rabbinic prohibition, ha'isura ikka, v'hadar tani, and then immediately the Mishnah goes on to say, kosher isha maftech chaluka, afil lechatchila, which sounds like you have a permit to do it even lechatchila. So the Gemara says, hachi kamar. This is how you have to understand the Mishnah. Yesh ksharim she'en chayim leki kesher k'molim kesher sapanim. There are some knots you're not chayv umay niu. Kitra dekatri b'zmama v'kitra dekatri b'israida. We said the long rope that you tie to the nose ring, right? Not the nose ring to the nose, but to the nose ring, because sometimes you might leave that on for a week or two, but sometimes you'll undo it. So it's not a permanent knot, but it's not very temporary either. So you'd be part of a lusser. And the same thing with a rope that ties the boat to the dock. Sometimes you might leave it tied there for 2 weeks. So you wouldn't be allowed to do it on Shabbos Potter of a Lasser, but there's no chiyuv chatas. In those cases, chiyuv v'deleka yisra ikka. But the yeshim mutar l'chatchila. So there was an emendation that we stuck in, and we've stuck a few words. The yeshim mutar l'chatchila. Umayniu, the following list: kosheres miftachei chalukah, all the other things we mentioned. Okay, so schedule for tomorrow.